Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you for joining me today. How are you today? This is the Snap Reports class, and in this class, we learn how to automate our work in Excel. Today we are live for YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I would really much appreciate if you are watching from one of those platforms, if you could confirm that sound is coming to you correctly, image is coming to you. Just give me something on, type something on the comments. Let me know where you are watching from. I would really love to hear from you and know who is on the other side of the camera. So let's see if we get some feedback. And while I'm waiting, because I know that that there is some lag, some delay between the time I speak until you hear me, and then until I can read your comments. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Celia Alves. I am an Excel consultant. I develop custom solutions for companies in many different business areas to help them automate their work in Excel and save time. And with saving time, a lot of collateral benefits come with it. When you save time on repetitive tasks, you have extra time to apply to things that you value more, that are more important for you, for your company, for your family. Maybe you want to apply that time to learn new skills and make the possibilities of you progressing your career faster. So this is a time where I dedicate to teach a little bit of what I've learned over the years. I have been learning with other people who share content online, with courses, and also teaching myself. When I have new challenges, a lot of times I have to to do some research, to practice, to be able to solve those problems, new problems. And in these classes, I am coming to give back a little bit of what I have learned over the years and maybe help you learn faster than I learned because I'm just giving you the information. You don't have to spend the time going through the same challenges that I had to do. So these classes usually have extra materials, and you can find those materials and also extra information that I post on my Telegram channel. I'm going to leave the link there in the comments in case you want to check that channel and join. Is free, and all the materials are in there. Not only these classes materials, but all the materials from the previous classes that you can watch on the YouTube channel in the live classes playlist. Okay, let me see. I have some comments here. I have Claudia. Hi, Claudia. Nice to see you. And Eddie B, thank you for letting me know that everything is looking good on the YouTube side. Yasser, thank you for joining us from Egypt. Kudi Philippe, thank you. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. If anything is not going well, if, for example, I need to do a little bit of Zoom, let me know. Sometimes I'm so focused on what I'm teaching you, what I'm explaining, that I forget to do some zoom in into the tools that I am showing you. I also am testing a different monitor. I will be sharing a different monitor that I usually do. So let me know if there is any problem with it in terms of the definition. Let me know if you can see things well. Okay, so that's it. We are about to start. I'm also going to just share the link for my newsletter that goes out about once a month, and where I share the different things I've been doing, but also news about Excel, the new features that are made available in Excel. And other related technologies, sometimes Power BI, for example. So if you are interested in keeping on top of all that's happening, Microsoft has really been making a lot of progress, a lot of putting a lot of effort in developing amazing new tools. So it's another source of information that you can take advantage of, and it's free, of course. So finally, just before we start, just letting you know that as I was explaining before, I learned a lot from other content producers. I would love your feedback. Let me know in the comments of any questions you may have, any feedback you may have about whatever details that you think can be improved, or topics that you would like to see me exploring here. And please feel free to share the channel, share the link for this class, invite your friends, your colleagues, someone you know that could benefit from this content, because we never know how a piece of information can change someone else's lives. That has happened to me over the years, and I think it's we can continue that chain of goodness, share with others what we are getting for free and from the effort of other people. Thank you so much for joining. And so today, let's start the class. When I look like that, I'm checking your comments. So let me just maybe move my window a little bit more to this side. Okay. And today we are going to talk about, we are going to go through an example with Power Query, where the intention is to bring information from a website. And although the information seems quite organized in the website, we will see that we will have to face a little bit of a few challenges to clean that data and make it, put it nice and organized the way we need it to be in Excel if we wanted to do something else with it. In fact, today the class will be about importing that data, and the next class I plan to do a little bit of work with that data. We will explore custom data types in Power Query, but that will be next class. Okay, so are you ready? Let me know if you are ready. And I'm just rearranging my applications here so that I can share my screen and show you what I need to show you for today's class. Okay, so sharing my screen here. Just a second. It would be like this. And if it is too small, let me know, and I'll remove my video camera, my camera from there. So Claudia is ready. Thank you. And Cuddy Philippe is also ready. And Zubair. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your names correctly. I'm sure all your names are beautiful, and I wanted to say them correctly, but sometimes I just tend to read things how I would say them in Portuguese, which is my native language. Okay, so I hope you forgive me. Okay, so this is the website that we will be working with today. So in fact, today there is no particular file to start the class. I will give you extra information at the end about one very last topic that we will face at the very end. It will be a surprise. So it's something that is not common to have to deal with, but it happens in this situation, and it can occur other times. So stay tuned until the end to know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to put here in the comments the link that I am using in case you want to follow along. We are going to connect to that website. Okay, so that's a wiki page. Has the list of presidents of the United States. And at some point here, we have a table with some information, the presidency, presidency number 1, number 2, number 3, and the dates. Let me maybe see if I can make these a little bit bigger. Maybe like that. We have the dates, start and end of each mandate, the name of the president. We have here a picture We have the party that president belonged to, when the election occurred, so the year, and then the name of the vice president related to that president. And we have other information here, but we are not going to explore that. So that's a table that goes for a couple of rows. We see that there are some subdivisions here in between the cells, and we have at the bottom we go and until the current president, and we see at the end that we have the name of the president and the dates. We have the starting date and then incumbent, meaning it's the current one, and we don't have, of course, an end date for the mandate yet. So that's our data. We have also sources here at the bottom. Okay, so now that we looked at this data, we are going to copy that link because we will need that, and we will start a new file in Excel. And from there, we are going to use Power Query to connect to that web page. Okay, so I'm going to maybe put this up so that you can see better. And what we need to do is to go to the Data tab here. Let me see if I have, okay, I forgot to activate the zoom in case we need it. Okay, there we go. It's too much zoom there. Let's maybe do this here. So to activate this magnifier, it belongs to Windows, and you just need to press the key Windows plus. And I'm going to put change here to, it doesn't let me to change zoom level. I was trying to put, okay, 50%. It doesn't let me. Change zoom level, 50%, zoom increments. I believe that's what we need to do. Okay, so hopefully this will work. Okay, so now we go every 50% of zoom, which is better. All right, let's keep it like that or there, and we will use it when we need it. Okay, so we need to come here to the Data tab. And in the Data tab, we go Data, and then here on the left, Zoom is not working well, sorry. I know it's because I'm using several monitors. So I hope this works for you well enough. So here, Get Data, and then from other sources and from web. Okay, click there. So data, get data from other sources from web. It takes a little bit for Power Query to open up. It comes with, it gives us this window here, and in the URL field, we just need to paste the link that we grabbed from the browser and say OK. And now Power Query is going to inspect what it can read in that website. Luckily, in this case, we have different tables here, and when we click through them, we can see different a preview of the tables here on the right. It's not always like that. Sometimes the information is not organized in tables on the website, and the work we need to do is different. Maybe in another class in the future, near future, I can explore one of those situations if you would be interested in that. So let me know if you have tried to use Power Query before to connect to the web, and you found those challenges where it only gives you one table here, but then you click on the table, it's not the one you need, and you keep clicking and it doesn't give you what you need. So that's a different situation from the one today. In this case, we want this table here that is called, is named presidents. So we just need to click there and then transform data. Okay. So it's processing, and we are going to enter the Power Query editor. Going to do this. Zoom here. Here on the left, we have the queries. In this case, we only have this query that we just started. Automatically, Power Query gave the same name to the query as the table that we are importing. So the table was presidents, and the Power Query named the query the same way. We can click this here to have some more room, get some more room here for work. Here on the right side, we have the applied steps pane, meaning that everything that we do is recorded here in these steps. So we already have 3 steps here. One is the source, and we can see, excuse me, here at the top we have a formula, and if you don't have that formula, you can come to view and click on formula bar there, so that you can have the formula available for you, the formula bar, where the M code is generated every time we create a new step in our query. So here, this is the M code, just to say web contents, and then the web page from this website. You don't need to worry about understanding this language, but it's important to get acquainted with it, because sometimes we get situations where none of the buttons in the user UI, I was going to say UI, or the user, in the user interface. So all these buttons that we have here in the ribbon, they allow us to do a lot of things, but there are situations where they are not enough. So if we learn to interpret this language, then we get an extra set of chances, an extra chance, of improved chance of being able to solve problems. Okay. So then we have navigation here, where this says, okay, go to the source, which is the previous step. First row in that source, not first row, in fact, the row 1 is second row, because row first is row number 0. Power Query is 0 based. The M language is a 0 based language. And data was the name of the column that we had in that previous, in this table here. So if we see here, we are extracting this row presidents. It's the second row, so it's row number 1, because this is row number 0. And then we are extracting the data from the data column. We are extracting this table here. That's why the M code wrote data there for us, okay? And then by default, Power Query tends to create this change type step. We don't need it now. We are going to delete it and keep it to the very end, or almost the very end. There is a way of turning off that automatic generation of the change type step, but I have Power Query here using the default settings, or most of the default settings. I'll keep it that way, because most of you will probably have the same way. Okay, so we have our table here. We already know what's in it, or we at least we looked at it in the website. Now we see we have, for example, here presidency A and A2. So in the website, let's put it up here. It's in this one. In the website, we had, let me go up here. One header only showing, but then when this converts to a table, it's in fact 2 columns. So presidency 1, presidency 2, we have a column here that is empty, where it shows us colors, a color code depending on the party color. And so we have that. And also we have this column portrait that we will see that comes empty in our Power Query table. Okay, so that's what we have here, presidency A and A2. So these 2 columns. The portrait column, we don't need it. And we also don't need, it's funny that I got this time, I got we got two names, the names of the columns twice. That's interesting. So we can either remove the first row or just promote the first row as headers. To do that, we can do here, coming to home. Let me see. I cannot here in the home, and then this button that says use first row as headers. Let's do that. Okay, so we promoted the first row as headers, header names. Okay, doing that, let's go. What else? Let's see what else we need to do. Please also note that we have some presidents going in multiple columns because they have done multiple mandates. And so we have, they are not always necessarily together in a row. There's one president here, at least, Grover Cleveland, that appears here twice, and then there's Benjamin Harrison, and then Grover Cleveland comes back again. So this is not so important for today's class, but when we are going to work with custom data types, it's important to be aware that the same data, the same name is repeating multiple times throughout the column in the table. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Well, there's columns here that we don't need. So the portrait column is empty. We can go right click and remove. And the party is that column that had colors depending on the party. We don't need that either, so right click, remove. And we have the name of the parties here, so let's leave it, the election year and the vice president. Okay, so we have these columns that we need. Good. So now let's see what else we can do. The presidency dates, let me see here, very interesting. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you here. And let's see what else we have here. We have this column with dates, and those dates we need to split them from in two dates: the starting date and the end date of the mandate, right? Let's take care of that. And then there's other things here. You see how we have information going in two rows, so we need to take care of that. And also here, because this can cause us problems there than in Excel. Okay, let me select the column. I wanted to say something else. Oh, remember that last column, that row that we had here at the end, the one that said sources. We can also remove this row just from now, so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. We can do it, for example, here in the presidency column. We can come and unselect from the filter this value out. And let's check here at the top. We get, okay, let's go to the step removed columns, which is the previous step, and select all the rows that have the presidency, which is the name of the column, different than the value sources. So we kept all the other rows. I just noticed that here Power Query went ahead when we promoted headers and changed the type. So let's delete that step because we don't need that now. Just we will do that. We will take care of that at the end. So let's go to the bottom, to the last step again, and let's continue from there. Okay, so let's continue and let's take care of the dates here. I have not changed names of the columns yet. We will do that later. This column has starting and end date, and we have a common element, which is this dash here. And when we click in one of the cells, we have a preview here at the bottom, and we can see that there's a kind of a line breaker there, some character. When we do enter or create a line breaker, there's a non-printable character that is inserted in our document. So that character can be there. And we have also the dash here. So let's use that common element as the delimiter to split this column by that delimiter and separate the two dates. So we select that column, and then we can come to transform here at the top and use the button split column by delimiter, the very first option. See if I can do a zoom there. Okay, so that's the option that we are going to use. And we get this window from Power Query. And it's very clever. Power Query is very clever at guessing what we need. It's telling us select custom delimiter, select or enter delimiter. It already decided for us that the best option it's probably to use a custom delimiter, and it used the CR code. And this CR code, if we come here, let's see if I can move here at the bottom. When we use this drop down here, we have the different special character, non-printable characters, delimiters here. CR is for the carriage return. So if we click that, you see how it appears there at the top. So we can test with the other delimiters there. We can test with the other delimiters there. It's not working here with my Zoom, but Power Query already had put that option there for us. Okay. What else? Each occurrence of the delimiter, that's fine. We seem to have only one occurrence, so that should be fine. And split into columns, yes, that's what we want. Into how many columns? 3 columns, that's fine. Let's leave it like that and see what happens. And say, in fact, you just want 2 columns, but let's say like that and see what Power Query gives us, and then we clean it a little bit. So it created 3 columns for us: presidency 1, point 1, and then point 2 and point 3. As you know, we cannot have duplicate names in the columns, so Power Query automatically creates point 1, point 2, point 3 to have different column names. Okay, we don't need these columns, so we can select, and before that, you see, change type again. Let's delete that step. And in here, right-click, remove this column. And now we have the 2 columns with the dates. We have one date, one from the starting date and another column for the end date. Okay. If we look a little bit closer, we can see that something is going on here, right? Because here the word comes at the top, here comes at the bottom, and then we have the other columns as well to take care, but we can see that something doesn't look right here. It's probably those non-printable characters that can be in there. So one thing that we can do is we can select both columns, and we can try use clean and trim to help us remove those characters that we don't want. Trim removes any non-printable characters. Let's do that. It's because we are transforming the columns, we are not creating new columns. We will look for that tool in the transform tab there at the top. Okay, so let's come here to format and trim here. Okay, and see what happens. It's looking better. Everything now is aligned at the top for these rows that are higher, have a bigger height. So it's looking better just with clean. We can also do trim just in case. Sorry, we did trim. So we can also, what did we do? We did trim here in the formula bar. We did trim. Trim, what it does, it's not the non-printable characters. So the trim, what it does, it removes extra spaces at the beginning and at the end of our values, our strings. So these are text values. If they have any extra space characters at the beginning and at the end, that's what trim does. And now clean. So apologies for the confusion. I kind of mistaken things here. So hold down Shift or Control to get the other column, and now we can also try clean just in case, just to be sure that nothing else, no other special characters are hidden in there. So Windows Plus to give us a little bit of zoom here, and let's come back to Format in the Transform tab and use clean. Okay, it may not do anything visible for us. But it's good in these situations where we see that the data is a little bit messed up, especially when we are importing from text, HTML. It's a good idea to use those two formatting helper tools, trim and clean. Okay, let me know if you have questions so far. Everything is very quiet over there. So I hope you are enjoying. Let me know if you have questions or if something is not looking good for you on your end, okay? Okay, so now we have those two columns are looking better. Let's inspect these other columns. The president column with the president name seems pretty okay because there's only one line of words in every cell, right? Let's inspect this party 2 column. In any case, you can also just select all the columns and apply trim to them. It won't hurt. The clean, we will see if we will see that we may need extra care with that. So this column party 2, in some cells, we can see that it seems to have a line breaker there. So let's try use clean to take care of that. So transform, and then in format again, let's use the same tool, clean. Oh, look at that. Much better now. So you see there, although we cannot see that character there, there's something there which is a non-printable character that indicates, in this case, the web page that needs to be a line breaker or a line feeder. There's different technical names for that, to make the second portion go to the new line. So we took care of that. It's looking good for now. Let's leave it like that. And now let's move on to the next column that needs care from us, which could be the vice president column. Okay, so let me see if the election column also has any special thing going on. It doesn't look like, but again, if you want to use stream on it, it's a good idea. So vice president column. There's cells where we can see that we have 2 rows as well in the same cell. So let's take care of that. Let's try use clean again. So transform and format and clean, and see if that helps us. So it's looking good, but then here, vacant throughout presidency. So it seems that we could use a space there. And now it's not so easy to tell Power Query how to insert a space there, right? So let's undo that. But there's something we need to be careful here. If I delete this step here, I'll delete the step for clean text. But if you remember, we did clean twice in a row just now, right? We did clean for the vice president and for the party 2 column, party underscore 2 column. So if I delete this step, I will be deleting the two actions altogether, because when we do the same operation twice, Power Query tends to summarize that operation in one line of code, one instruction only. So because I did clean text twice in a row, instead of creating two clean text steps, it put the instructions in just one step. So if we look at here, we have transformed columns with using trim text, using the trim text table. So from the previous step called trim text. And what we are doing there is that we are using text.clean applied to this column, then applied to that column. And in fact, we did it more than twice. We did for the presidency dot one, presidency dot three, and then we did it for the party underscore 2 column, and now we did it for this column. But for this column, the vice president, we see that using clean does not seem a good option for what we need. So instead of deleting the step that would cause me having to repeat the work again for the other columns, I'm going to use the formula bar, okay? The text that was generated in M code here, select everything after this last comma here, in between the curly brackets, and delete that, and then delete that comma as well, okay? And then we can do enter. And what this does, it keeps us the same, the operations we did before for the other columns, and just eliminates the step that we did for the vice president column. Okay, so we need to do this something another way. So what I think we need to do is we need to replace whatever is in here, separating these two rows, with a space. And for that, we have another tool that we can use in Power Query. Power Query is very, very kind and very helpful. So if we go to the Transform tab, we have, or in fact, in the Home tab, we have replace values here. It's not active. Why is that? Because I am still here I'm still there. Let's see if I can just confirm this step. Okay, I can just, oh, so when I, that's weird. So when I minimize that, let me see. That's interesting. Okay, so let's keep it like that for now. So let's see. Select this column, vice president, and home tab, and replace values here. Okay, this button. Replace values is what we are going to use. And here we get to say what we want to replace by what. A value to find. It's something that we don't know. It's one of those non-printable characters. So we can click advanced options and choose here replace using special character, and insert. So I'm clicking here and insert special character, and we have these different special characters. Tab, we have carriage return, line feed, carriage return and line feed, and non-breaking space. I experimented with the different options, and what we need in this case is carriage return and line feed. But if you are working with a situation like this, of course, you will have to do some testing. You may need to do some testing to see what's in your situation. And in here, we want to replace those characters with a space. So we click in that field, and then we type space once. Okay, and that's it. We can say okay, and now we have our column. Let's see how it's looking. Let's move down. Now we don't have those tall rows anymore. Everything is fitting in one table only. One line of text, one row of text only. And that situation that we had seen before, vacant throughout presidency, now is all in one row only, like we wanted it to be. So this is looking good. What we can do now is just to save our work, I'm going to close and load to, and let's just put it in existing worksheet. We can put it here and say okay. And we can see, we will be able to see how our data is looking so far in Excel. It's looking like this, very similar to what we have in Power Query. Okay, let me go and save. Going to save this here in our file for our folder for today. Not here, here. And let's put presidents underscore live. Okay. So that's our file there. So I would want to know which president was here for was in the presidency for a longer time, or at least to have. I want to know how much time each presidency not the presidency, each president was in charge of the country. We will be able to do that later by summing up different mandates when the same person was elected different times. But I want to have a duration of each mandate. So we have the starting date and the end date, and that will be the next one of our next steps. Okay. So let's start now. Now that we took care of all the other columns, let's take care of the presidency 1.1 and 1.3 here, which gives us the dates. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. No questions or comments so far? Let me know if the Zoom is good enough for you. This monitor, I don't think it's a winner yet. It's another testing that I'm doing here, but we'll see. We will try other equipment if needed. Claudia is following along as always. Thank you, Claudia. And let me know if there are any other questions there. Let me know if you have connected Power Query to the web before, and how was your experience with that task. Sometimes it can be quite challenging because of all these things that we cannot see, and because of how the data is stored behind the scenes. So let us know how this experience has been to you. If you want to share any link that you have explored before for us to try another class that you think it's a good challenge for us, let us know, and I would really appreciate that. I would really like to look at those. Okay. So, okay, let's go back. Let's put this up. And let's take a closer look to the date columns and see what we need to do here. We have some dates here with special characters there, right? Some notes in the website. And then, I don't know if you remember, we also have at the end that the current president because we still don't have an end date, we don't have a date here. So we need to take care of those special characters, and we need to take care of this and think how we can put a date here. The reason for that is because if I'm going to make calculations with the dates to calculate the duration of each mandate, then I need to convert this column to data type date, which in this case is still not that. If we click here and if I enlarge the column, we can see that the text is being aligned to the left, and since I didn't apply any formatting for that, it means that Excel is looking at this information as text. Okay, so we need to convert these values to dates somehow, and then be able, so that then we are able to calculate the difference between those dates to calculate the duration for the mandate. But that last row does not have a date, so it will cause us problems in Power Query. Okay, so we have to find a way to solve that. Let's click here and or double click to edit the query and get back to work. All right, so maybe a little bit of zoom here will help. Control-Shift+ is what you need to do to zoom in Power Query Editor. So let's take a look at this column here. We saw these characters there. So if I select in the cell, I get a preview here and I can select that text. I'm going to do Control-C to copy that. And then I'm going to say, come to this, I'm going to ask to Power Query, please come to this column and transform the values so that, not transform again, I don't think the replace values is in the transform, maybe it is. We have the different tool, the same tool in different places. Sometimes when we right click, or here for example, if I right click, I have replace values, so I would not have to go to the home tab for that. Okay, and in here, what I want to find, I'm going to do Control-V, and I want to replace that with what? With nothing. So I just don't type anything in there. Okay, so this is what how we are filling that dialog box, and go OK. Okay. And now if we take a look, we don't have those anymore. And we see that we have the names of the months spelled out entirely, then space, and then the date, the day. Sometimes the days have 2 digits and the other times they have only 1 digit. So there's no leading zeros being applied here on the days, day values. Then comma, space, and we have the number of the year, the value of the year. And this is important. We will need to remember that format in a bit. Okay, so let's maybe so let's now take care of the second column and take care of those of that word here. And we can also maybe rename these columns. We could have done it before. So presidency 1.1 will be from date. Okay, tab. I'll get out of that there. Double click here to edit the name of the column, and this will be to date. And since I am in a step of renaming columns, to avoid having multiple steps for that same operation, I'm going to do that with all the other columns I need to rename. So party _2 would be just party. We don't need that _2. And the election, maybe we could be more specific and say election year. Okay, so we just renamed all the columns in one step. Again, if you see here, we only have one line of M code where in between double curly brackets, we have the pair of the previous name of the column and then the name we just chose the column to have. Same thing here for the other columns that became the to date and the column party and so forth. So in between curly brackets, we have these pairs of before and after name. These are lists, and we have a comma separating these pairs. Okay, and then they are in between another pair of curly brackets here and there, and so forth. So do not worry too much about that. Like I said, it's just good to every now and then take a peek of your M code, what is being generated there, because you will start to get acquainted with it and it will become useful in more challenging situations. And here on the right side, we can see that you only have the renamed columns step once. Okay, so everything condensed in one command there that made by Power Query. Okay, so let's take care now of the incumbent. I'm not sure how to say that word in English. Sometimes I don't pronounce some of the words very correctly, and apologies for that, but that's that's how we go. So how can we replace that word with a date? What I thought was, well, every time we refresh this query, maybe next time we will have another president in the future if we come and update the table. As long as the website doesn't suffer any changes in the structure page, we will be able to just go to data refresh and get the new information. The incumbent president will be always in charge, let's say like that, in the date today, in the current date. So I'm going to replace this word with today's date, okay? And to do that, I'm going to select the column and use the same tool that we used before. So right click and replace values, which is in here. Click that. And then we want to say incumbent. We need to spell it correctly. Uppercase and it's case sensitive, okay? And we want to replace that word with, for now, I'm going to just leave it blank, okay? And I'm not going to replace it with anything for now. So just a little bit of zoom there. That's how we are filling in here. We don't need any of the advanced options and say, okay. So doing this step, I made Power Query to write the code for the replace value function, table.replace value. And it's saying replacing this word with empty. So double quotes, double quotes. And now we want to do, this is not what we want. So we need to replace this with something else. If we check back down below, let me see, escape here to get out of exit the formula bar, we see that that cell now shows empty, right? Okay, so let's see what we can do. Like I said, I'm going to use today's date to replace that empty cell. If we come here to the Microsoft Power Query M formula language page, to get in there, you can just search for Microsoft Docs, Power Query M language. You will get that, but I'm going to put this in the comments there for you in case you need it. And I see there's a comment there from Eddie B. I have tried to connect Power Query to a secure site that required a login. My login worked via a web browser, but not via Power Query. I had to use copy and paste to get the data. Yes, so authentication is a challenge, and it requires knowing how to deal with APIs and other stuff that it's not so basic. I have that challenge myself. If I learn how to do that in future sessions, I will bring that content to you as well. That's a good point. Even yesterday, I was trying to connect to a file in Google Sheets, but because it's a business account, it has other layers of protection that we usually do not have with just personal accounts, and so it was not easy. I ended up also not copying and pasting, but what I did was I downloaded the file as a CSV to use as my data source. So sometimes those challenges do happen. Okay, so like I was saying here, I've shown you this page before. If we come to Power Query M language specification, or if we come to here and search, maybe it's faster like that. We see that we have a lot of date functions. With experience, you will start to learn some of them. And what I'm thinking to use is date time now. So if we scroll down, the datetime dot local now, that's the one we want to use. And this function returns a datetime value set to the current date and time on the system. So we just need that expression there, and there it does not even have any parameters that we need to fill in. So let's try do that. What happens if I replace incumbent with the value of the current date and time? Enter, we get an error here, and then we get an error here. The reason is because I have not changed the type of my columns, and I'm still keeping that for later. So for now, maybe we could do this differently, but what I'm going to do is, since this column is in text and this column was all in text as well, I'm going to keep that like that. So I'm going to keep both columns in with data type text for now. And I'm just going to find a way of transforming this date time local now that we entered here into text. Okay. So we can change a value. There's another function there that transforms dates to text. So if we come here and we look for date dot, we have date to text here, date dot t. And this function here returns a textual representation of date. So if we put just this and we have a date inside a date, let me put maybe a little bit bigger, and we have a date inside the parentheses for the date to text dot to text function. In this case, we have an example of a specific date. We have our current local date. It will return us this as what they call the textual representation of that date. So month, day, year, or maybe different if you are using a different format. This is for the US format. For me, in my case, I am in Canada. I believe it will return day, month, year. Okay, so let's try this one. So date dot to text. I'm going to copy that, or I could type as well. And let's try put this date time dot local now inside a date to text to transform our current value of date and time into text. So if I do this, I'm going to type a space because IntelliSense sometimes it's a little bit tricky. Delete that parenthesis from there and put it there at the end. Let me see, let me know if you can see this well. So I entered date.toText and put the dated time dot local now inside that function, nested in that function. Let's try what and see what this gives us. I pressed enter and we got an error. It says we cannot convert the value date time 2021 May 27, which is today. This is my local time now, 18 hours, so 16 the after 6 hours 6 p.m. 31 minutes, etc. And this is the seconds to date type, because this is giving, like the name says, it's giving me the date and the time. And the function date to text only wants a date here, does not want time in there. Okay, so what we need to do is then find a way of transforming this value that gives us both date and time into just the date value. Okay, so there's more M functions for that. We can look for date time. Let's look at the date time. So date time, we have datetime functions overview. So there's several datetime functions, and then we have them listed here. One of them is datetime.date, suggesting that from the date time we will extract the date. So that sounds what we just need. Let's go and see that. So datetime.date, inside we need to put a date time value, which is what we have. Okay, and then this will return us returns the date component of that date time value. Okay, so that is exactly what we need. So datetime.date, select copy, or I could just type in here. I could come here. I need to put it here in between. So we have the date time local now value. I need to transform it to date only, and then I want to apply the date to text that I just did before. So let's do that. I'm going to type a space because of that IntelliSense being tricky. So date time dot and then date. You see it's showing up there. So tab to get that there. Open parentheses, and then the other parentheses needs to go there. Okay, so current date and time, then we extract just the date, and then we convert that date to text. Okay, let's try this now. Enter. And let's check what's in that last cell here at the end of this column. It's there. Here. This is what we got. So we have a column where all the dates are with the month spelled out, space, day, comma, space, year. But now for this one, we got a different format for the date. Because if you remember, let me go back here. If you remember, we are in the date.toText page. That is the standard format we will receive. In this case, let me go back just to check. You see, in my case, I got the year first and then month and date, because because that's the format my system uses in Canada. The page is explaining with the United States default format. But then if we see here, we have an example number 2. And the example number 2 says that we can indicate the format that we want to have in the returned value. So here at the top, we can see that we have 2 parameters, the date, and then we have an optional parameter. In fact, we have more than one. We also have the culture as nullable, so we could use the enter a parameter to indicate the country date format we want to use. In this case, we are interested in the format for the table. Okay, So all you have to do is after the comma, indicate in between double quotes the format we want. And Power Query is case sensitive, so it's quite picky. What I learned is that year needs to be in lowercase y, and month needs to be in uppercase M, because the lowercase is for minutes, and days are in lowercase d. Okay, so let's go back here, and in our formula for the date to text, if we do this, we can see that it's closing here. So before closing that parenthesis, we enter a comma, and the IntelliSense is giving me so that now it's time to indicate the format. So double quotes, and in between the format, we are going to follow the same format we have for the other values in that column. And we have the month all spelled out. So we need 4 M's for that, and then a space, and then a D for the day, and then a comma, and then a space, and then 4 Y's to get the year. Okay, so that's the format we need. I'm going to leave it there for a little while so that you can take a look if you are trying to follow along. And let's see, enter. See if we got what we needed. Okay, let's go down the very end. And there we go. We have May 27, comma, space 2021, which is today's date. If we come here tomorrow or in the future, we will get this updated with the current date in that day. We are refreshing our query. Okay, so this is looking good. Okay, we got rid of that word. So now it's time to, now we can change the data type, because now we have everything consistent. We had text throughout both columns, and we can convert, everything is in the same text format for the date, so we can do that all at once now. So control, then we come here to one of these, either here or there, it doesn't matter, right click, and then we can change type, and then we say that we want text. See if we can do a little bit of zoom there. Text. Oh, sorry, that's not text that I want. That's silly me. Silly me. It's not text. Let's remove that step. I want date. So right click, change type, and I want date. Okay. So there we go. We have all the dates converted. The date format, again, that I use in my system is year, month, and day. You may get something different depending on what type of date format your system uses. Okay. So it's looking good. The only thing that is missing now is we need our duration column that I told you about. I wanted to get how many days each mandate represents. Let's just do a quick check in all the columns to see if we need to do any data type changes to any of them. So we have text, date, and then we have president is text, election year. We could change this to a whole number, but I remember there's this one here. So the whole number would give us the opportunity to do some operations with it if we needed to, but I don't think we will need that. It's just a piece of information. And since we have this entry here that is different from all the others, and it's not a one single whole number value, let's leave it as text. And president column text. Okay, so that's good now. So we are ready to move forward to create the column duration in days. So for that, we can try head column, custom column there, custom column, and it opens up this window every time it goes past Okay, it goes to the other screen. I have a little bit of trouble in getting everything inside the screen that I am sharing, which I think I am now. Just a second. There. Okay. So we can try do this duration. Oh, nice. So let's zoom out. Duration, and in between parentheses, days. That will be the name of my column. And let's try to do to date minus from date. This would be um, how we would calculate the difference between dates in Excel, for example, right? We can subtract the to date values. So, okay. And we get this type of result. We get this type of result. So we get days and then hours, minutes. Not good, not exactly what we want. So we need to explore our M code again, and there's duration functions. So we have date time, and then we have duration functions here. There's a duration functions overview. If we go here, we can take a look at all the different duration functions we have. And there's one that says duration dot days. Okay, so this is probably what we need. We need to indicate a duration there, and then this will return us the date component of that provided duration value. Okay, so let's try that, duration dot days. So in this same formula that we just added here in the last step, we are in the last, let me escape from here just to show you. We are in the edit custom step, the very last step that we just created. Instead of saying that to each row, I want to do just the subtraction between the to date value and the from date value, I'm going to say I want the duration. So that gives me a duration value, and then I want to extract the days portion from it. Okay. So then we just need to put a parenthesis here at the end and press enter. And there we go. Now we have what we were looking for. We have the duration in days. This one here is very easy to verify if it is correct. So this one here, if we click on the number row number, we select the entire record and we have a preview of all the values here. So we have from date 1841 March 4th to April 4th of that year, and that makes, because March has 31 days, that makes 31 days. So that's exactly what we have that there. So this seems to be correct. And that's all we needed. Okay, so just going to do a little bit of zoom out here. This is how our query is looking now, our table. We have the presidency column, from date to date, president, party, election, year, vice president. We just need to change the data type here, this one, to a whole number, duration in days. And we should be good to close and load our data to Excel. And something weird is going to happen. And I am already asking you to pay attention and give me your best shot about what you think is causing that problem. Let me know. Pay attention and let me know if you can guess what the problem is. I think some of you will be able to tell me that. So close and load. And let's bring this to Excel. It's loading the data now. And this is what we got. there's some issues there, weird things here. So if we click here, this is what we get. Is that weird? Then if we scroll down, oh, here then we have some dates. 1901 and so forth. So from now on, from here on, all the dates seem fine, including today's date here for Joe Biden, the current president. So fine. But these few dates at the top are not showing. Why is that? Going to wait for your answers. Why is it that we are getting these dates there? Not dates, those hash signs. Let's see if someone comes up with an answer. I already gave away a spoiling tip there when I clicked in the cell. Is anyone able to give me a shot there? Let me know. What do you think is causing that problem? So some dates, they are showing correctly. Okay. But the first few dates at the top, they just don't show. Oh, there we go. So we have Eddie B saying that the Excel dates start at January 1st, 1 of January of 1900. Exactly. So Excel can only handle and interpret dates from starting in January 1st of the year 1900. And it does not even, so if we type, let's see, let me show you here. So if I type number 1 here, and then go and tell Excel that this is a date, so coming to here and format this as a date, short date format, it tells me, oh, you are, number 1 is for the date of January 1st of the year 1900. And if I go number 2, same thing, so it will be January 2nd, right? Short date there. And so forth. And so moving on from there, number 3, number 4, number 5, we get until today's date. That would be, so if I type today's date there, we see that there, but then if I do Control C and then Control and here paste values, this is the value for today's date and corresponds to the number of days since that first date, 1900 January 1st. I think there's another issue also with this first year is being treated in Excel as a leap year, but in fact, because it ends in 00, it's not. February did not have 29 days that year, only 28. So there is that mistake. It's a known issue in Excel about that error there for that year, and that happened because it already was happening with the previous versions that originated, I think, Lotus 123, and to keep compatibility with previous softwares, that error was imported. I hope I'm not saying any mistake. I believe that's what I've been reading about this kind of situation. If you know anything different, just let us know in the comments, okay? So Excel only cannot interpret dates before that. So if this is number 1, if I come here and say, okay, so 0 should be December 31st of the previous year, right? And -1 should be also the day before that, so December 30th. But if I apply, so 0 gives me January 0, which is odd, does not exist, and -1, when I format this as a date, returns me this kind of weird format. So cannot type that as a date. And as a curiosity as well, if we move forward, we can only go, Excel can only go up to the year 9,999. So that's, you cannot go past that. But interestingly enough, when we have these dates in Power Query, you see Claudia here was saying negative numbers. Yes. So when we click on those cells, let me put this bigger a little bit. Oh, I cannot, it's not enlarging there, but okay, so let me go there, zoom there. If we select one of these cells with all these hash signs, we can see that a negative number is being in there. So it's following that logic that I was saying. Okay, so if this is date number 1, so the day before should be number -1 or 0 and -1 and going back. Power Query is doing that, and it's returning those negative numbers for us in Excel. But then Excel cannot interpret them. So the interesting thing here that I wanted to share with you today, this was a surprise for me as well when I was working in this project. The interesting thing here is that if we work with negative, let's call it negative dates, they are really not negative, but they, according to the date numeration in Excel, date numeration system, if we are working with those dates in Power Query, it can handle them and it can make calculations with them. So these are all dates in the 18th century, 19th century. It can work with those dates and calculate with them. But then if we want to see those dates displayed in Excel, which we do, then we cannot import them as dates. So one last step that we need to do here is to select these two columns and convert them to text again. So not remove the step where we converted them to date, because we need that step there to be able to calculate the duration. But then we can come here at the end and change type back to text. Okay, and now we can go close and load and see what happens here in Excel. Now we have all the text, all the dates displayed here, but if we enlarge the columns, we see that they are aligned to the left. So Excel is treating them as text the way we just set them up in Power Query. Okay, but since these now are information dates, we have the duration that we needed there, calculated there. If we needed to do any other kind of calculations, again, we will have to find a way of probably doing that in Power Query. There are ways of dealing with negative dates that involve some tough formulas and or VBA, and I will put in the Telegram channel a document with some extra information about this kind of problem. In case you are interested in exploring, I will give you a few websites where I found information about that. Okay, so that's it for today. That's all, folks. Let's save the document there. What am I doing? I moved my quick access toolbar to the bottom. I used to have it at the top and I'm still not used to it, so I keep searching for my buttons. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. Not this, what I want to do. What I want to do is this. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'm just going to see if I have any extra pieces of information to give you. So like I said, I'll put that information there on my Telegram channel. I'll put the link again in case you missed it at the beginning and you want to check that out. It's closed environment where you can access the data files, the exercise files, and other information that I provide every now and then. It's not like WhatsApp, for example, where other people can see your contact information. So that does not happen. It's a one-way communication only between me and the viewers of the channel and you. So feel free to check that there. And finally, so today we learned how to connect to a web page. If it is a web page where it was not probably the case with the page that we saw today, but if it is a page that has information changing over time that you need to check every now and then, creating a query that allows you to bring the information to you, into Excel, may save you time to you and your team. So it's another skill that you can apply at your work. And as you saw, it's not difficult. Uh, Fundamentally, we would need only get data from other sources, from web, put the URL there. But then we may have to deal with some formatting challenges. Sometimes the data is not on a table there waiting for us, all lined out in columns like this one was today. So there's other challenges there, but at least you have a starting point, and then you can explore from then on. Okay. So once again, please send your feedback. Remember to put a like there on whatever platform you are using to watch this class. Leave your comments, your questions, and your feedback, and share with your friends and colleagues these classes if you think they are valuable to you. Okay, I'll be back soon. Next class, like I said, I will be using the same data that we imported today to Excel, and from there, we are going to create a custom data type in Power Query. So recently, I asked the audience what they were more interested in learning about, if Power Query, VBA, Excel functions, etc. And the vast majority is more interested in learning Power Query. So next class will be also about Power Query. Okay, thank you again for joining me, and we will be back soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, of your night, and stay safe. Okay, thank you.